Hello and welcome to the Tarkis Zone. This is the gardening edition. And what I want to do is talk to you today about starting your seedlings inside. And let's just talk about a little bit of the science on this, but I don't want to go too brainiac on you. I'm not doing the Albert Einstein here. I'm kind of trying to think about the ease of just trying to understand the basics and how this all works. And as you can see, I've got a little picture up here that is simplifying in it. If this is too sixth grader for you, I apologize. That's the kind of videos I like to do. I want to do a video where everybody can understand the basics without having to be a super genius to figure this out. So we can all agree that plants have been around on this planet a lot longer than humans, because they would have needed to be here to create this one little jobby here that we need to survive, right? So if our atmosphere doesn't have oxygen in it, we can't come out of the ocean to become whatever we did become. Or if you're believing in the God theory, maybe God put the oxygen there, but we know today that the plants keep it there too. So not to offend anybody in this video, both are sound, and if you believe in either, but I'm just trying to point out that plants have an evolutionary advantage over us. And the thing about evolution is, if the most simplistic way of doing something works, evolution doesn't seem to fix that or think it's efficient. So when it comes to plants, we can all agree they efficiently do what is needed for our environment. And how they do that is through photosynthesis. And that's a fancy word basically saying that you're taking an energy, say the sun, and that energy is doing two things. That energy is creating sugars, and the byproduct of creating that sugar, its poop, let's say, is oxygen. So like a human eats a hamburger, we're going to poop hamburger. Well, in this case, evolution has allowed this plant to take the sun's light, bring it into the plant, and the plant says, "Oh, I need sugars to live. That's my fuel. That's my way of surviving and growing and get my genetic structure to where it needs. Its genetic code wants it to be 8 feet. Well, it needs to get 8 feet somewhere, and you can't create energy. You have to have energy. You go to the basic principle. You cannot take matter, create or destroy it kind of thing. It is what it is, but you can change what its phase is, and in this case this is light energy. It's taking that light energy, bringing it into the plant's saying, okay, I need two things to survive. I need carbon dioxide and water to produce the chemical reactions that I need to be going on here in the plant. So for us, we need water, we got food, we can survive. We can do what we need to do to build muscles and walk around. Well, the plant only needs it needs three things. It needs energy, the light energy. It needs carbon dioxide, and it needs water. So these are the three key things that it needs to create the sugar to become bigger, to survive, to allow evolution to take its hold. But its byproduct, its poop, or it's, in our case, if we poop a hamburger, it's pooping oxygen. And I guess that's the easiest way I could say it is that's its byproduct. Now, poop probably is not the best term to make for it, but that's its byproduct of surviving. And when this oxygen got into our atmosphere and started to build up, boom, we got what we got. And the thing with millions of years of evolution, or if you believe in the God theory, well, God, if this is a intelligent design, well, he was a smart guy, because in this basic of science here, this is the deliverer of life. Everybody says that, okay, you need water to survive. Yeah, we all know that. Okay, we are carbon-based life forms. We need water, right? But I mean, in this simplicity of a plant, it does so much for the survival of every other species on Earth. Just think about that. I mean, so if evolution created it or if intelligent design created it, it's just wonderful. It's just a crazy, wonderful thing. Well, let's move on to the actual germination and let's talk about plants, right, before spring. I've got a couple pictures here. I do want to talk about this picture here because this is pretty important. And gardeners don't realize the importance of light sometimes. They just put their plant outside and Mother Nature shines the sun down on it and the plant does great. Well, that's good and dandy, but let's say you want to do something inside. Let's say you want to create a greenhouse or you have potted plants in your house, and most people have these wonderful windows now that reflect UV rays so they don't come in your house. And those are not the rays that the plant needs, but if it's reflecting some wavelengths, it's reflecting quite a bit. So sometimes your house plants don't look as healthy as if they were outside, and it comes down to the window blocking it, or it's just not, the red and blue spectrums are not getting through. Now we can all agree that when you have white light, it's pretty much every light in the spectrum, right? I mean, it's blue or red, and it's got everything in it. So that comes shining down. Now, we all can agree, too, that most plants don't absorb green light, right? Because they reflect it. That's why we see them as green. Well, the reason for that is the chlorophyll in the photosynthesis. There's a chemical called chlorophyll that is in the plant. And that plant reflects, that chemical reflects green light. So, for example, if someone shined a light on you, you were a superhero, and you decided, I just want to reflect green light at people all day long, that's pretty much it. It's taking whatever light you're providing and saying, I'm going to reflect the rest because that's the nature of that's why plants are green. And what happens is in the fall, plants go into dormancy and they start sucking that chlorophyll out of the leaves. And so that green chlorophyll that would reflect green is no longer, and so it starts reflecting its natural reflection is, browns, oranges, or whatever it might be. Well, let's talk about the red and blue. Now, what I'm going to tell you right now is you want to definitely do red early on. And if you can get a light similar to what this person has done here, with the blue and red LEDs within the light, you can get those for like $13 on Amazon. What you see here is a regular screw in, and it reflects blue and red. And you're asking, Tarkis, why would you want to do that? Well, the thing about it is you can produce all the white light or fluorescent. You can use fluorescent lamps to do this. That's all and great. But when you ask yourself, as if you're trying to do it with a little bit of expenditure, let's say energy expenditure. So I plug in a 50-watt bulb that produces white light, and that costs me X amount of dollars at for my utility bill, for my electrical bill. Well, if you get something like this, you could cut that, probably to 1/100th of the cost, and you're actually providing the light frequencies that the plant needs to grow early on. So red light is responsible for making plants flowers and to produce fruit, but it's essential for plants' early life for seed germination, root growth. So when the seed's just coming out of the ground, the seedling doesn't care if it's white light. It doesn't care if it's every light in the gamut, green, red, or blue. It's just looking for that red. It's like, I need that frequency. It's like having a Mountain Dew and a non-caffeinated thing. It's like, okay, I want the Mountain Dew because I got to get going. Because when you're a little seed, you've only got enough energy to produce so much leaf. And then you got to find the energy, and that goes back to the other slide. So when the seed's in the ground, it's not getting any sun, right? So as it starts peeking out, it's utilizing the energy that was built into the seed to get out there. At that point, it's relying on this energy source to allow photosynthesis to occur, right? So it's needed. But if you can generate the correct light spectrums that it needs, then you're going to be better off. It's going to love you for it, because that's what it's really going to need. Now, I'm not saying just have this light on until you bring them outside, but start off with something cheap, and then you maybe after they get like 4 or 5 inches tall, then you add a white light or put them closer to the window. But this type of light here will make a huge difference. And obviously Loomis is, and that's how bright the light is. You want to look at one that's pretty bright. All right, let's go to this photo here. What I want to tell you here is, if you're trying to start seedlings at home, you need a seedling heat mat. Think about how science works outdoors, okay? And how seeds are laying on the ground. Imagine you're a seed early spring, the sun's coming up. What are the 2 things that are going to be noticeable? Okay? Humidity and heat. Those are the 2 things that a seedling is going to need. Because as the sun hits the ground, it's heating the ground up, because the sun energy, the X-rays or whatever those type of rays are, UV rays that are hitting the planet, are creating heat. That's why you get sunburned, and that's why it's hot. So it's hitting the ground and it's heating up the ground. At the same time, it's heating up the ground because it's close. It's springtime. It's rainy. It's the sun's thawed. The moisture's everywhere. So humidity is key. Heat and humidity is key. And a plant really, as coming from seed or even a cutting or a clone that you're creating, is going to need the heat and the humidity to get going. So this heat mat is crucial. Now, I've seen people do just this part of it, stick it on their rug in their house in front of a window, and they don't do well. They get the plant to thrive, but it's not doing that well. It's But if they had a heat mat, then they would have done 10 times better. And I guess the thing about it is, if I told you that when you were a baby, before you can get the nourishment you need, the sunlight, in your case it would be food, that you had to carry around a 10-pound ball before you can get to the food. And now you would say ridiculous. Evolution would knock you out of the game, right? Well, think about it. If you're not heating these things and they're getting up to the sun and they finally get to the light you got, but you're not getting them that heat or what is required for them, they're going to get stagnant. It's like them carrying a 10-pound ball with them. And they just in their entire lifetime are going to be sad, not so great plants. So if you can give them what evolution or what Mother Nature asked them to have early on, being humidity and heat, then they're just going to do so much better. So these are what they typically look like. You can get these off Amazon. They have their own little cups. You put the heat mat underneath it, and this is plastic. I have one of these, and it traps the humidity within the box. So what's great about it is the heat mat's heating the water that's collected. What you're going to do with seedling is you need to use a seedling dirt. Don't use a prime top nutrient based potting soil, because you're not going to be successful. Because seeds do not require any nutrients early on, because it's in the seeds itself. So like I was explaining, is the genetic code and all the energy it needs to survive within the first couple weeks of life is all in the seed. So it's going to get that. So after 3 weeks of life, at that point, it's going to say, oh, I'm hungry for nutrients. Let's go take my roots, go deeper, go wider, let's find nutrients. Now, the reason why you don't use a high nutrient-based soil right off the cuff is, number one, it sometimes will burn out the seeds, so they'll just die, and that's because the pH level is not being correct. See, a seedling kind of needs neutral pH, and that's what seedling potting mix is. It's a very neutral pH balance, so there's nothing that's going to burn the roots where a normal potting soil would. It's too much nutrients in it. So the seed itself burns out. The roots, even if they start developing, they get burnt out. The other thing about normal potting soil is it will retain too much moisture in the cup, whereas seedling potting mix is designed to allow the water to flow through. There is some moisture left behind, but it's neutral pH balance, and it creates the right moisture level for those seedlings. So it's important. You're saying to yourself, well, Tarkis, Mother Nature kind of pulls it off. Well, yeah, Mother Nature throws a billion thousand seeds out there, and it rolls the dice and hopes to God that 10,000 of them take. I mean, if you've got that kind of nonsense time in your day to plant 10,000 Ds and hope for the seeds and hope for the best, then you go ahead and do it. But I'm just trying to tell you, if you want to get 100% success rate at this, then this is what you want to do. I mean, regardless of what you're trying to grow, tomatoes, corns, peppers, squash, onion, whatever, you want to make sure you're doing the plant justice right off the bat, because you'll be struggling the whole summer wondering why your plants are doing so sadly. And it all came down to, you know, not having it carry a 10-pound weight around to get its first meal. I mean, that's the first thing I can think of, is give it the right environment. So what you would do is you'd wait until the root ball got really established in here, and then you would move it after it's 3, 4, maybe, you know, close to 5 weeks old. And it's tall, and you can move it to then a nutrient-rich potting soil, and then it will do well. Especially if you're starting them off in your house. I mean, and the thing with cuttings, like say, for example, you took a cutting of a willow tree, a willow branch, and then just stuck it in here, and then put the potting mix in, just stuck that thing in, and you can hope for the best. With willow trees, they got self-rooting chemicals in them, so they normally would do well, and within 4 or 5 weeks, you got yourself a little baby sapling. Now, you can buy cloning chemical off Amazon it's a liquid, that's a cloning liquid, and then any greeny plant that you dip into that cloning liquid, then stick into this tray, has a 90% chance of rooting and being successful. And that's what I do with my rose bushes during the summer, is I use that cloning dip. I dip the cloning, I dip my rose branches in the cloning dip, and then I stick them into these type of trays. And they do great. And this way I can move, you know, perennial rose bushes all through my property, because I'm just cloning a branch of it. And the thing about a clone, it's its own plant, so its genetic markers get reset. So meaning that, like say I got 100-year-old rose bush, and I cut a limb off it and dip it in my cloning solution, or even, let's say I don't do that, I just stick it in the dirt, and it grows roots and becomes established, and a year later it's this great rose bush. Well, guess what? It's only a year-old bush. It knew that it was a new structure. And that's the thing about either the intelligent design or just evolution, has just kind of made this process so that life has a way of surviving. And in this case it's a new plant. To itself, it's a brand new 1-year-old plant that'll go another 100 years. I mean, and that's the thing about cloning, is I really recommend it if it's something that you have the patience and you like to do, and you can do them in these environments really well. Well, I really wanted to do this quick little video because I know everyone out there is thinking, okay, we got to start planning our stuff for spring. And I wanted to show you, and I hope I didn't confuse you too much and I didn't bore you too much. And if you're out there, if you're a nerdaholic and you're ready to rage quit on this video, I'm only trying to be helpful. I'm not pretending I'm Mr. Professor. I'm not pretending I'm a genius. I'm just trying to say, look, if you look at these basic elements of what this is trying to do, and I'm hoping you guys don't rage comment me about the two, you know, the intelligent design and the evolution thing. I don't care either way it went. I mean, at this point, we are what we are. So if whatever camp you're in on that, you don't need to weigh in here. It is what it is. I mean, we can agree that you plant a seed, it should grow. And that's where I want to be with this video. So I thank you for joining me. This has been the Tarkis Zone.